Imagine the feeling of constantly being watched, the uneasy sensation that at any moment someone could be following you, waiting for you to let your guard down. You can lock the doors, close the curtains, even check every shadowed corner. But the fear crawls into your mind and takes root. Today, we delve into the chilling depths of what it means to be stalked. 8 terrifying stories, 8 lives forever changed by the relentless obsession of strangers, or worse, people they thought they knew. Our first story begins with Emily, a 22-year-old college student who had just moved into a new apartment close to campus. At first, everything seemed fine. Then, small things started to catch her attention. The milk in her fridge was disappearing, even though she hadn't touched it. Clothes seemed to go missing, only to reappear in random places. Odd, but not alarming until one rain-soaked night. That night, Emily woke up suddenly, shivering. Her bedroom window was ajar. She never left it open. But what made her stomach drop were the wet footprints on the floor leading all the way to her bed. Panicking, she installed hidden cameras around her apartment. The next morning, as she reviewed the footage, her blood froze. Captured on tape was a shadowy figure stepping out of her closet while she slept. It crept to her bedside and simply stood there, watching. Hours passed before it retreated back into the closet. The police didn't waste a moment when Emily called them, and when they opened that dark closet door, they found a gaunt-looking man. His eyes were hollow, his lips twisted into an eerie smile. In his hand, a knife. He had been living there, inside Emily's apartment, for weeks, sneaking around whenever she wasn't home. Emily moved out that day, but the thought of how close he had been still haunts her every moment. Our second tale belongs to Jake, a rideshare driver working the late shift. One night, he picked up a passenger named Sarah. She seemed paranoid, constantly glancing over her shoulder as though someone was following her. On the drive, she described months of harassment. A man who appeared wherever she went, standing just beyond the streetlights, staring at her without blinking. She had contacted the authorities several times, but nothing ever came of it. Jake listened and assured her she was safe in his car. But as they stopped at a red light, he glanced in the rearview mirror, and there he was, a figure silhouetted on the sidewalk, his piercing gaze fixed straight at the car. Jake's instincts kicked in. He floored the accelerator, dropping Sarah off at a friend's house and telling her to stay inside. But his good deed came at a price. When Jake finally returned home that night, he noticed something off. His door, usually locked, was slightly open. With dread pooling in his stomach, he stepped inside to find his living room trashed. Smeared across the mirror in a dark crimson fluid were chilling words, "You shouldn't have interfered." At first, they seemed harmless enough. Cryptic lines like, "I see you," or "You're alone, aren't you?" But soon, the messages became disturbingly specific. "Nice blue shirt today. Your haircut suits you." That odd unease turned into full-blown terror when objects in his home started shifting. A book moved, a chair slightly askew. The final straw was when Tyler found his phone lying on his bed, unlocked, with the camera app open as if someone had been using it while he slept. Desperate for answers, Tyler set a trap. He balanced a glass of water on his bedroom door, hoping it would spill if anyone tried to enter. The next morning, Tyler woke up to water pooling at his feet. Someone had entered his room. Shaking, he checked the security camera he had placed in the hallway outside. And there he was, a man standing silently by his bedroom door, his ear pressed against it. When the man turned to face the camera, Tyler's core froze. It wasn't a stranger, it was his own neighbor. Our next story shifts to Lisa, a young professional who worked late into the night. Her nightmare began with the sight of a man standing under the street lamp across from her building. He never approached, just stared. Week after week, he was there, his figure a silent shadow in her world. Then, his presence became more pervasive. She spotted him in her favorite coffee shop, at the corner near her gym, even at the pharmacy where she picked up her prescription. The moment Lisa realized she was no longer safe wasn't outside, it was inside her home. One evening, stepping out of the shower, she noticed her bathroom mirror, fogged from the steam. Written in the condensation was a single message, beautiful as always. He had been there. Now let me tell you about Mark and Sophie, newlyweds who dreamed of a peaceful life in a secluded countryside home. For weeks, Sophie couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Mark dismissed her concerns, that is, until strange carvings began to appear on their front porch, symbols etched into the wood near the door. Research revealed these weren't ordinary markings. They were signs used by certain groups to target vulnerable properties. One fateful night, everything came to a head. The couple woke to the sound of their front door slamming. They hurried downstairs to find it wide open, muddy handprints smeared across the staircase. And on the wall above their bed, written in a dirt-like substance, was their worst nightmare, an outline of their sleeping bodies. Next is the story of a man who found a strange box on his doorstep. Inside, dozens of photos, pictures of him walking down the street, entering his workplace, even sleeping in his own bed. At the bottom of the box was a single note, "See you tomorrow." Claire's tragedy is equally gripping. One quiet evening, Claire found an unexpected package waiting outside her door. A vintage doll with glassy eyes that seemed to follow her every move. Creeped out, she left it in the living room. But that night, she woke up with a start, certain she had felt something brush her cheek. Turning on her light, she gasped. The doll was now in her bedroom, sitting on the floor and clutching a photograph of her, fast asleep. Finally, we come to a group of friends who stumbled upon an obscure online game. At first, it seemed harmless, but as they progressed, eerie things began happening. Mysterious messages would appear on their screens. "We know your fears." Lights flickered in their homes. One of them swore they saw a shadow dart across their living room. When they tried uninstalling the game, they received one last alert. The game never ends. Stalking is a uniquely human terror. Unlike the supernatural, it's not bound by logic or rules. It's insidious, creeping into the lives of its victims without warning and forever altering their sense of safety. The scars it leaves aren't always visible, but they cut just as deeply. Perhaps the most chilling realization is this: anyone can become a target. So I'll ask you once more, are you sure you're completely alone right now?